Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel Software Engineer K, and today we're going to be going through some big updates. So we have had one of the biggest drops to date on VeVe announced. I would go as far to say that this is a grail piece. It is Miles Morales Spiderman, so we're going to be touching a little bit on that and specifically tying that into some data on a muta scan. What can we reasonably expect in terms of our user numbers, user data, and roughly what percentage of OMI burn we can expect to drop to burn as well. And then linking to that, we have had some additional NFT updates in the space, specifically regards to regulations, and this is something I really want to touch on because something I've been talking about on this channel for the longest amount of time, and everyone kind of knows that my entire basis of getting involved with it, Ecomi, was based around this concept of compliance and regulation. So really want to touch on that, and we will also go through the OMI price for today. So first off, we have the newest drop announced, and that is Miles Morales. And for those who don't know Miles Morales, he is the new Spider-Man who takes over Peter Parker. And so what we'll do is we'll just have a quick Okay, so as you guys can see, we have Miles Morales. Now, what you may notice actually is in the rare version is his Jordans don't actually have the Nike logo on it, and that for obvious reasons, because right now VeVe doesn't currently own the Nike license. We know that Nike is doing their own thing with Artifact, but similar to what we saw with the Ultraman poster, we know that they had to blank out Marvel because they didn't have Marvel at the time, or they couldn't announce it anyway. So we may see this collectible update in the future if Nike does want to do something with VeVe. I would not be surprised if that were to be the case. Now, what we can also expect is, with this collectible, depending on the edition size, remember the first Spider-Man did have an edition size of, it was something like 32,000 just for the commons. It was quite a large number of editions, but Miles Morales, even if they decide to do a total of, let's say, 25,000 editions, which, in this market, we haven't seen things with 5,000 or more editions sell out at all. I do believe this is still going to sell out. And, Miles Morales, if we have a look, he is an extremely popular character, and as the article states, it has appeared lately like Marvel wants people to forget that Miles Morales is an official Spider-Man, given Peter Parker's blessing to use the name long before Ben Reilly came back. So Marvel did actually release a reprint of Ultimate Fallout #4, I believe, and they did this because the character, the comic itself, it is extremely popular. And if you look on VeVe, Ultimate Fallout #4, that is one of the comics that has consistently done really well since launch. Even in this bear market, it goes way beyond retail, and those ones are selling as well. Most likely during the recording time of this video, I imagine the price of the comics has also gone up for Ultimate Fallout #4. But as you can see, that reprint actually, so Ultimate Fallout #4, Fasty Smile, that is the 8th top selling Marvel comic. So, in terms of number of units sold, keep that in mind. But this is one where I imagine the collectible is going to do extremely well, and if we go to Immutascan, right, and if we have a look at the number of unique owners, so this data basically tells you, you know, how many people have at least one NFT in their wallet at any time, any one time. And usually right after a drop, that number spikes, and you can see kind of here, we had a huge spike from 646 up to, you know, nearly 648 owners. And then right after the drop, you know, most people sold off. So can't remember what drop that was on August 30th, but wherever it was, most people seem to have just sold it off. And we kind of see that happening after every drop. You know, it goes up, sells off, but it's kind of in an uptrending direction, as you can see very clearly. Now, we obviously had a little bit less of a sell-off over this weekend. I think that's because we had some genuine new users come in from New York Comic Con, which, you know, did quite well. But what I imagine is we're going to see a pretty big spike up in terms of unique users. And I feel like there is obviously going to be a drop-off, but it's not going to be as significant as we've seen, you know, in the past. I believe a lot of people will probably be holding this one, especially a lot of new people coming in when they see this Miles Morales collectible. What I've noticed is there are a lot of people who, you know, when you look at the number of daily transactions, that there are about 5,000 active users. In order to count as an active user, you need to transact one time, at least one time in a day. There are a lot of people who have just been kind of sat there idly with their gems, and a lot of these people have, you know, very outspokenly said they are going to come back for this drop. A lot of people that I know, you know, who haven't really participated in drops, you know, pretty much at all, like the past, you know, 3-4 months, they are coming back for this drop specifically. So, you know, I think it goes without saying that Miles Morales is going to do extremely well. Now, how well? I believe, you know, depending on the edition size, the price, I believe it should sell out. And if it's a similar kind of total market valuation of the Darth Vader, then what can we expect, right? Well, if we have a look at the OMI burn spreadsheet by Puddin Cheeks, we can know that Darth Vader dropped, I believe it was the 30th of May, around there? Should be the 30th, right? So if we have a look, you can see gem purchases, total OMI burned, right? So around that time, we burned around about 2 billion OMI, right? So we went from 53 billion straight up to 55 billion in that period. And this was the kind of drop, you know, the drop weekend of Darth Vader. Now, 2 billion OMI, I think at the current price, and if the edition size and price is similar to Darth Vader, which also had 3 different types, I believe we can definitely burn 2 billion OMI, and that should push us over to 76 billion. So, you know, that is about 3/4 of the way there towards burning 100 billion from the non-circulating supply. And again, this just adds more and more evidence that when we do get OMI to NFT and those transactions with OMI start burning and people start wagering OMI for the queue, then, you know, I believe that system is going to be extremely powerful. But we'll have to wait and see. Regardless, you know, that is great. Now, just want to quickly touch on this. You know, the SEC, they have launched an investigation into Yuga Labs. And I believe, you know, based off of previous documentation that we had leaked, they did kind of say that the NFTs were going to be exempt at the time for, you know, the kind of regulations with regards to using the Howey test for evaluating if a asset is a security or not. So I believe this is probably more closely tied to the Ape coin offering, which again, I spoke about extensively with VeVe. I said that, you know, Ikomi was a project I was really looking forward to, just because of how carefully they've been doing things. You know, they were quite on top of like revoking the buybacks. You know, they were really careful with payout, specifically crypto payout. You know, they put a pause on that, obviously due to regulation and compliance. You know, they're trying to do it correctly. And, you know, they never kind of participated in all of the kind of high yield OMI staking, you know, locking up your tokens in VeVe, getting rolled in OMI stuff. Like a lot of platforms did that. You know, they said, hey, we're going to do revenue distribution, or like, you know, token yield, that kind of stuff. Like, you know, Ikomi, they kind of wanted to avoid that. People obviously were kind of annoyed, but, you know, at least now they're kind of more in the clear from the SEC's crosshairs. So, you know, I suspect we're going to see a lot more. Yuga Labs was just a big target because it's one of the most known ones. Bored Ape Yacht Club, pretty much everyone knows that as kind of like, one of the most well-known projects when they think of NFTs. So similar to Ripple, which was, obviously a really well-known token. It's just easier for the SEC to go after, the really kind of popular people, just to set that message, that example that, hey, you need to kind of follow our rules. And so, Ecomi, with all the partnerships, their licenses and those agreements, I believe they are more inclined to operate a lot more carefully than, other projects out there. So that, was one of the reasons why I felt more comfortable going heavier in when it came to, stacking my OMI tokens, getting involved in VeVe, etc. Now, what we do know is the OMI price, however, been kind of stagnant, right? We've basically been sat around about just hovering above 0.0012. Like I said before, I don't expect us to kind of leave this range anytime soon. If we have a look at, charts for other tokens, in the last bear market, back in like 2017, 2018, the market stayed flat for like 2 years. And I believe OMI has kind of found a solid bottom here. However, if the rest of the market does kind of start to trend downwards, which I think it will, I do think we will see lower prices on OMI. How low? I suspect we will just probably very briefly hang around that 0.001 region. My buy order for my biggest bag of OMI is going to be around about that range, and that's literally what I'm waiting for. So I'm pretty excited to see what comes off that, but that's pretty much everything I want to go through with you guys today. Thanks so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe to support the content, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.